because I'm like doing the therapy and seeing these amazing results, my strategy calls started going way worse because I was getting more and more confused about how I could help them. So I had to bring it back to like actually asking them on the call, okay, what are the 3 things you think you need? Because that was the only way I could bring myself back on track. But yeah, I found it learning it all and putting it into practice, getting confused.
Yeah.
But yeah,
one thing I was doing with strategy calls, which I didn't realize, my VA told me, she said, I listen to some of your calls when you're recording them. I realize you do this. At the start of the strategy call, I'd say, no, thanks for booking in. What do you want to get out of the strategy call? What do you want to get out of working together? And they started giving me a list. I didn't realize I was doing it. And that gave me a place to sort of platform off of, especially when it comes to the 20-minute strategy calls, which we'll do in a couple of days' time. And it made sure I covered those criteria. And it also led into the session, like, if we work together, how would you know it's worked? Well, I'd feel this, 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 and this. Awesome. Let me write this down because I'm going to put it in the contract.
okay.
In the contract. But if it's ambiguous, it can be taken in any direction. And unfortunately, you get screwed for it.
Which, yeah, and I found that I was like, how am I going from like this 5-6 grand a week and then I burnt out for the last 4 weeks to like just like what is going on? So I was glad MACH came at the right time.
Yep. You always, when businesses start collapsing when they're doing well, is because you've touched something that you shouldn't have touched. That doesn't sound right, does it? But you get my point, okay?
Yeah.
You've screwed with the pipe. When things are going well, you want to write those things down. Even when it comes to business social media, I know when I had lapses in income because I stopped doing the things that got me to the dance in the first place, which was 3 YouTube videos a day, multiple lives, posting 4 or 5 times a day across all social. Then I got lazy, complacent. And what happened? Income dropped. And then I think it's a mindset thing. The fucking universe, someone put a spell on me, all this stupid shit. And I go, I haven't posted on YouTube for like 6 weeks. No wonder. So if you can think back or reflect what you're doing before, Candace, write those things down and stick to that. That becomes your asymmetry routine. That becomes what you do. That becomes the second question you always ask on every strategy call. You've got to be able to write those things down.
And that comes into the processing for everything for me, because when I was doing all those things,
it was working.
Even the client sessions were faster. So it kind of like all ties in.
Of course it does. And the human mind works best when it's got a frame of reference. Well, when people come along and say, Scott, you've got to add chat box to your business. You've got to add ads. You've got to add funnels. No, I don't, because what's working is working. I'm not touching the pipe. I know what to do every second of the day. I know what to think, feel, and do. Why would I touch it? Same thing with therapy. I know what work with the lawyers. I know how to do the strategy calls. I know what questions to ask, what not to ask. I know how to finish the session. I know how to talk about processing. Once I've got it down pat and I could write it down, I could literally give it to somebody else to do for me and it would still work. That's when you know you've got a solid business. But if anything's ambiguous, one thing goes wrong and it snowballs out of control where your income drops because you're not doing the things that got you to the dance in the first place.